So you're applying to physical therapy school and you found out you need something called letters of recommendations or reference letters. And you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Where do I start? How do I even ask? How do I approach them? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about on this video. So let's get right into it.
Yeah, it's one heart, one shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the...
All right, so let's break down letters of recommendation. So I have a few points here that I want you to take notes with me, pull out your phone, pull out your notes, whatever you need to do to write these points down to help you ask for a letter of recommendation, know what to tell them to write in a letter of recommendation, so on and so forth. All the nuances will go through in this video. So I'm gonna do it with you. You're gonna pull out your phone, pull out your notes, whatever you like, and we're gonna go through these points, okay? So number one, the first thing I want you to do when asking for a letter of recommendation is state your goals, meaning explain why you want to be a physical therapist. If you're shadowing someone or asking a professor, it doesn't really matter. When you're about to ask, when you're asking them, email, in person, whatever the case, explain why you're doing this. Explain why you want to be a physical therapist. So that's number one. And don't just say, oh, I just want to go in to help them. No, be as specific as possible so you can get across why it's important to you. And why you want to be this so bad, why you're going through this whole application process, why you're watching this video to get that letter of recommendation. So don't just say, oh, I want to be a physical therapist. Can you write my letter of recommendation? I heard this school needs it. Like, no. You have to explain your goals, your reasons why you want to do this and what you want to accomplish in your career as a physical therapist, so on and so forth. And in their mind, they'll be like, oh, this person is really about that action. I can see why they want to do this. I can see their vision, and yeah, of course, you're this passionate about this career. Of course, I'd write it. So that's the first one. Okay. Number two, I want you to explain why you're choosing them. Out of all the people you can ask to write your letter of recommendation, why are you choosing them? The professor, the physical therapist, whoever checks off the list on the PTCast profile, who you can choose from. Why them? Is it something you saw them do, something you heard them say, how you saw them act, their credentials, their leadership position, whatever the case may be? Explain to them. I'm choosing you, Mr. or Mrs. Physical Therapist or Professor. I'm choosing you because I saw how you work with patients. I saw how you run the clinic because you're the clinic director. I saw how you teach every one of your students who are in your classes. And you inspired me so much to be like you or to be like one of these attributes I see like you. So I'd be honored. I'd be honored if someone like you would write a letter of recommendation on my behalf to become a physical therapist so that I can be a physical therapist like you, or I can be someone like you. Like that's so much more powerful than just saying, oh, I don't know, we connected great. Remember that conversation about dogs? Yeah, we're buddies, right? Yeah, just write me. Like, that's cool. And if you have that relationship, that's fine. But how much more powerful if somebody else was asking you to write a letter of recommendation, if you put yourself in their shoes, right? Because you're going to be a physical therapist one day, or whatever position that is, and someone might come along, a little pre-PT who's trying to get into PT school, and ask you, oh, Mr. or Mrs. PT, can you write me a letter? How would you want them to ask you? What kind of words would someone else or could someone else use to make you feel special, to make your heart go like, oh wow, I actually inspired someone? That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. So that's number two. Explain why you're choosing them. Okay, so the next one, number three. This gets a little more technical, but it's not anything crazy. Next thing I want you to do is provide them with a list of accomplishments or a resume, a cover letter. You don't have to get very specific. You don't have to write in the comments, oh, should I provide this resume with this format? You can, but the main point of this one is to make sure that they have something to go off of when they're writing your letter of recommendation, because they're busy people, they have families, they got jobs, they got stuff to do, and your letter isn't necessarily a priority to them. It's a priority to you, and they want to help you write it. I get it. But it's not a priority as to they're going to sit down for hours and try to craft this perfectly written thing. You want to help them as much as possible. You want to make it as easy as possible on them. So if you can list out a list or a source of information that can guide them, like, oh, I did this, I was a part of that, I did this, I did that, I would really love if you included these things on my letter of recommendation. That can help them a lot. So when they get to that point, they can just be like, oh, here's that letter of recommendation, or here's that resume, that list. Boom, 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 boom. Easy, piece of cake. And you also know that they are including what you want them to include, or what you would like them to include in your letter of recommendation as well. Okay, so that's a good point there. Then the next one I want you to do is, this is kind of a two-part one, but I want you to give them a deadline. So say in the next 6 weeks, the next 8 weeks, whatever that is, I want you to give them a deadline for the letter of recommendation to be done, and also have them write it as soon as possible. So I don't care when you're writing this video, whether you're in the application process right now, or you don't apply for 2-3 years, I could care less. There is no time limit on when they can write the letter of recommendation. Now, it gets a little tricky on when they can submit that letter, when they can go on the computer and click this and click that and fill out this form and blah, blah, blah. That's when it gets a little tricky and we can answer your questions. They only do that once you're ready to apply. But the actual letter, written letter, PDF document, Google, whatever, they can write that. There's no time limit. So I want you to give them a deadline in the next 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, while you're still in their presence, while you're still observing them, while you're still taking their class, while you're still in their presence. Have them write it while you're still interacting, so they can write that letter now and have it done. It's much better to do that than, say, in a year, 6 months, 2 years from now, when you've left them and gone on to something else, trying to then reach back out to them and say, remember this time, can you write me this? I know it's been a while, just checking up on you. Why wait? Have them write it now, give them deadlines, give them points, so they can have it, they can save it on their computer or in their email, they can send it to you if they're comfortable with it, and boom, you both have it. It's safe, and it can sit there for 2 years, 6 months, and when you're ready, then you can email them through PTCast, all the technical stuff, and you can say, hey, remember that letter you wrote 6 months ago, 2 years ago, whatever that is, and they'll be like, yeah, great, perfect, pull it up, boom, 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 bam, fill out that form, and perfect. It's all done. They upload the form or they upload the letter, and it's done. It's done. So they can write it now. That's a huge, maybe underrated point that a lot of people miss, is give them a deadline and have them write it as soon as possible so that it can be done. And once it's ready to be uploaded, the work is done and it's less stressful on their part. They don't have to remember who you were and take time out. It's already done. Okay, so that's a big point there as well. So that's really it. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing scary. It's nothing complicated. Those were the points I want you guys to remember when asking for a letter of recommendation, when building a conversation with someone on how to ask, what to do, what pointers to give them to write a letter of recommendation that you'd be proud of, that they'd be proud of, that will impress the school. That's what I want you to keep in mind. So as a bonus, if you made it to this part of the video, I'm gonna give you a bonus. If you haven't clicked on, it's whatever. But a lot of times you guys ask us, how do I stand out? How do I do this? Well, I'm gonna give you a little pointer. So 3 things that they can include in a letter of recommendation if they really want you to write, or if you really want them to write you a great one, and they're like, yeah, but I still don't really know what to write. How do I make this great for you? So on and so forth. I want you to keep these things in mind. 1, have them explain why you'd be a great academic student. Especially if you're asking for a letter of recommendation from a professor. Why would you be a great academic student? Now, a PT can write from this perspective as well. That's fine, but it's not really necessary. You can have these 3 points, and they're going to be 3 points, but you don't have to have all of them. Okay. So number 1, why would you be a great academic student? Because in PT school is going to be rigorous on the academics, and they want to know you can handle it. So if somebody is talking behind your back as to how great you are academically, it'll put them at ease. Okay. Number 2, why would you be a great PT student overall? Meaning your behavior, how would you be on clinicals? How did you act in the clinic? What kind of person were you? Do they have any stories about how you were as a student in the clinic or in a class? They can talk about that. Then lastly, number 3, why would you be a great physical therapist? Whether what they saw academically or who you are as a person or in the clinic, what attributes, experiences, stories would you have that they can write about, that can tell the admissions committee why you'd be a great physical therapist. Have them explain what they saw and how that information that they saw, those experiences, can help them and the admissions committee determine and make the connection as to why you'd be a great physical therapist as well. So that's your bonus gems. That's your bonus gems if you made it to this part of the video. So like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. And I hope you enjoyed this video on letters of recommendation, and we'll see you on the next video.